Welcome back to the show. You know, in 2020, there has been a lot of attention on healthcare, rightly so. And this morning, we are focusing our attention on something that we haven't talked a lot about yet here on our show, and that's clinical research, clinical trials, and how that is continuing in 2020. This morning, we are bringing in Dr. Kelly Yokum from Olympian Clinical Research, who's going to dive in a little bit more and explain why this is beneficial, why this is still important, and more importantly, too, how it's still continuing in this new world of this pandemic that we are living in. Doctor, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Explain a little bit what Olympian Clinical Research is and the types of trials that you do and kind of your role in all of this, Doctor.
Sure. Olympian Clinical Research is a clinical research site here in Tampa. There are many different clinical research sites in Tampa. Clinical research is basically research on people where companies are trying to develop new treatments or interventions. The studies that we do here primarily focus on dermatology, psychiatry, women's health, and general health. And these studies have been ongoing during the whole pandemic. We've continued seeing patients and continued bringing them into studies.
So who can be a part of these studies? And I think some of the, we're going to talk about the benefits of this as well, but I think sometimes you initially hear, wait a minute, something hasn't been tested, or explain how that works and who is best for these situations.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because all medications that are eventually FDA approved for treatment, things including Tylenol or Benadryl, have had to go through clinical research trials. So basically, the clinical research process is the process used to make sure that medications that go to market are both safe for patients that take them and effective for whatever diseases they're trying to treat. Here at Olympian Clinical Research, I was brought on to be the medical director of, in particular, the facility in Tampa. And I oversee all the clinical research, but I work with a number of other physicians and providers in conducting the studies.
And what's really cool, I mean, again, if anyone's nervous about this, and I want you to talk about kind of the criteria and who is a good candidate, you are really being taken care of and looked after probably than most traditional patients, I would assume.
Yes, that's true. So anyone can participate in clinical research. There are many different studies depending on the phase of development of the treatment, starting with healthy volunteers. So there are studies out there for healthy volunteers, but also studies for patients who are suffering from certain diseases. In clinical research, the FDA works with sponsors and pharmaceutical companies to determine who is appropriate to go into the trials. And mostly that's based on safety, just to make sure that no patient is ever being put at risk. The care within clinical research is actually pretty comprehensive. Visits are usually a lot more frequent than you would get at your regular doctor's office, and we obtain lab work or EKGs, physical exams at a higher frequency. And all of that is really just for safety of patients.
Yeah. Why are some other reasons people would want to volunteer? I mean, what's the message you really want people to know and understand this morning when it comes to clinical trials?
Okay. Well, there are many reasons people would want to volunteer. So for some people, they have tried all treatments that are available on the market right now and say those treatments haven't worked, or maybe they just weren't tolerated due to side effects or some other reason. A lot of times we will see volunteers come in for that reason, looking for something different, something that they can't get anywhere else. Sometimes people come just because they're interested in the science part of it and medication development, or they want to learn more about the disease that they're suffering with. Some people come because they're looking for a different type of care. Like I said, clinical research is definitely different. It's more comprehensive. So there can be a whole number of reasons why people would choose to come.
As we get ready to wrap up here, just about 30 seconds left, how can people find out what studies are going on right now, maybe what you're looking for? What would you have them do?
Well, for our particular office, we have a webpage, olympianresearch.com.
Yeah.
But more importantly, you can go to a webpage, clinicaltrials.gov. All research studies that are being conducted in the country have to be listed under that webpage. So if, say, you're Googling in Tampa and you don't see what you're looking for, you can always go to clinicaltrials.gov and see if there are studies going on in other cities that may be important for you.
Well, Dr. Yokum, we certainly appreciate your time. Again, we know that your office has stayed busy even through this crazy year of 2020. So we appreciate your time. Thank you for all you're doing and helping come up with these new medications that are safe for people and helping people live a better life. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Take care.
You too. And of course, we'll put all that info on our website as well.